You don't need $1 million to become a millionaire. You need the mindset to turn 100 into unstoppable momentum. The man who makes millions doesn't think like you, move like you, or waste time like you. He's not chasing money. He's building systems that print it. While you're saving for the weekend, he's building for the decade. The secret is this: you don't need more capital, you need more character. And if you can learn how to multiply what's already in your hands, the next 100M won't be luck. It'll be inevitable. Everyone wants to make millions, but almost no one is willing to learn how, because the real path doesn't start with funding connections or timing. It starts with flipping your mindset on what money actually is. Most people think 100 is small, disposable, irrelevant. But the man who builds empires sees 100 as leverage, a test, a tool. And when you understand that, you stop asking how to get rich and start asking how to multiply value. That's where the shift happens. The difference between staying broke and building millions isn't luck. It's the ability to see opportunity where others see excuses. It's using the 100 you have to build habits, skills, systems, and offers that compound. That kind of thinking doesn't just make you wealthy. It makes you unstoppable. Because now you're not dependent on circumstances. You're built for scale. You could lose it all tomorrow and rebuild from scratch, because the wealth was never the number. It was who you became in the process. This is not a quick win. This is a transformation. And it starts by asking, what can I do with what I already have that multiplies forever? Most people see 100 as nothing, a dinner out, a few tanks of gas, something to burn through without thinking twice. But that's the difference between someone who stays broke and someone who learns to multiply. Because the way you see 100s, what you believe it can or can't do, says everything about how you see opportunity, responsibility, and yourself. It's not about the money. It's about the mindset behind how you treat it. That 100 is a mirror. And if you don't respect it, don't expect to be handed more. You can give two people the same 100 and they'll do completely different things with it. One will buy comfort. The other will buy leverage. One will waste it on momentary relief. The other will invest it into long-term returns, skills, tools, assets, offers. And the difference isn't education. It's not background. It's perspective. Broke people think in terms of spending. Wealth builders think in terms of scaling. That 100 reveals how your brain is wired when no one is watching. It's the first test, and most people fail it, not because they're incapable, but because they're short-sighted. If you treat 100 like it's disposable, you'll treat 10,000 the same way. Because money doesn't change people. It magnifies who they already are. If you're wasteful at 100, you'll be wasteful at 6 figures. If you're undisciplined at 100, you'll be overwhelmed at 1,000,000. But if you can multiply 100, if you can think long enough to turn that into 200, 500, or even a simple system that pays you back over time, you've proven to yourself that you don't need more money. You just need better thinking. That's what separates the man who makes millions from the man who stays stuck. It's not hustle alone. It's how he looks at small numbers and sees future scale. He doesn't say, it's just 100 die. He asks, what can this become in the next 12 months if I use it right? That shift in perspective is everything, because it's not about what the money is. It's about what you believe you can turn it into. And when you look in the mirror, when you look at that 100 and pause before spending, you start to build something deeper: restraint, strategy, and belief. You begin to understand that how you manage small is a rehearsal for how you'll manage more. That 100 is testing your readiness, your hunger, your stewardship. And if you pass that test, the game changes. So don't ask for more money. Ask for more awareness. Ask for the mindset that sees 100 not as a ceiling, but as the seed. Because if you treat it right, that seed can grow into a tree that feeds you for the rest of your life. But only if you stop seeing it as small and start seeing it as the beginning. Everyone talks about hustle, grinding 18 hours a day, sacrificing sleep, outworking the competition. And while that might impress people on social media, it doesn't build wealth. Because at the end of the day, hustle without skill is just motion without multiplication. You can run all day in circles and never move forward. You can wear yourself out chasing money, but if you don't have the skills to capture, hold, and multiply it, you'll always stay broke. Hustle might get you attention. Skill gets you results. Think about it. The guy flipping burgers for 12 hours is hustling, but he's capped. The market only values that hustle at minimum wage. On the other hand, a copywriter, a closer, a software builder, they might work 4 focused hours a day and make more in a month than most people do in a year. Why? Because the market doesn't reward effort, it rewards value. And value comes from skill. Here's the brutal truth. If your income hasn't changed in years, your skill set probably hasn't either. The people making 7 and 8 figures aren't always working harder than you. They're just working from a higher base of knowledge, leverage, and decision making. They know something you don't, or they're executing something you never learned. And until you close that gap, you'll stay stuck in the same income bracket, no matter how hard you grind. That's why the man who turns 100 into millions doesn't ask, how hard can I work today? He asks, what skill can I master that multiplies money consistently? Because once you learn a high income skill, like marketing, sales, systems, operations, acquisition, you've installed leverage into your life. You've created the ability to turn effort into exponential outcome. And here's what most people get wrong. They think skills are either natural or too expensive to learn. Wrong. You don't need to go to college. You don't need a mentor to hand it to you. You need brutal focus, the humility to be a beginner, and the discipline to suck at something until you don't anymore. That's the road to multiplication. Not hustle porn. Not late nights for the sake of it. Real skill, real value. You want to make more money. Learn the skill that unlocks that income tier. Study it like your life depends on it. Practice until it's automatic. Package it, monetize it, stack it with other skills. Because once you know how to make money with skill, you can print it even if you start from zero. That's what separates hustlers from builders. One burns out, the other builds a machine. Hustle gets you started, skill sets you free. And until you shift from motion to mastery, you'll keep working harder for less. But the moment you choose skill as your foundation, your income stops being a dream and starts becoming predictable. Everyone celebrates their first sale. It feels like validation, proof that your product or idea is worth something. And yes, it's exciting, but the truth is that first sale means nothing if you don't have a system that can repeat it. Too many people chase the high of the first win, then spend the rest of their journey trying to chase the next one from scratch. That's not a business. That's just organized begging. The real game begins not when you sell once, but when you know how to sell again and again without relying on luck, emotion, or being on all the time. That's where systems come in. A system is simply a repeatable process that produces predictable results. If you don't have that, you don't have a foundation, you have a hustle, and hustles collapse the moment your energy runs out. Think about this one sale without a system is just a moment. But one system, even a small one, can produce 10, 100, or fund 1,000 sales over time. It's like planting a tree versus picking a fruit. The fruit gives you something now, but the tree feeds you forever. If you're only chasing individual sales, you're eating the fruit and throwing away the seed. The man who makes millions knows that. He doesn't celebrate one sale. He studies how it happened. He documents it. He finds out what messaging worked, what timing clicked, what audience converted. Then he builds a process around it. That's how you build leverage, by turning one win into a framework that others can follow, or that software can run without you. If you're starting with 100, don't spend it trying to make one flashy win. Use it to build the bones of a system, a landing page that converts, a sales script that closes, an ad that consistently brings in leads. Even if it's not perfect, if it's repeatable and improvable, it's a system. And once you have that, you're no longer guessing, you're scaling. Most people fail not because they don't have a good idea, but because they never turn that idea into a system. They rely on willpower and motivation instead of processes. But willpower is inconsistent. Systems are not. Systems remove emotion. They give you clarity. They give you control. And most importantly, they give you peace, because you know that results don't depend on how you feel, but on what you've built. If you want to turn 100 into 100 stop chasing random wins. Start building systems. Even one simple system that works while you sleep is more powerful than 10 chaotic wins that depend on your presence. Because money loves structure. And once you have structure, you can scale it again and again until you're not just making money, you're multiplying it without limits. Everyone wants to scale. Everyone wants the $1 million income, the big team, the passive systems, the freedom. But no one wants to stay in the shadows long enough to master the thing that actually makes all that possible. And that's the brutal truth. You can't scale what you haven't mastered. If your foundation is weak, scaling will only expose it faster. Most people think scale is about adding followers, adding offers, adding ads, adding noise. But scale is really about multiplying what's already working. If what you're doing isn't solid, duplicating, it just creates a bigger mess. You don't need more exposure if what you're offering doesn't convert. You don't need more leads if your backend can't fulfill. All scale does is magnify the quality of your systems, your leadership, and your product. So if those aren't sharp, scale is a trap, not a reward. That's why the man who builds millions doesn't rush into growth. He sits with the thing he's building until it becomes second nature. He knows the ins and outs of every sale, every system, every customer touch point. He doesn't outsource mastery. He earns it, because only then can he delegate it, automate it, or multiply it. And that's the key. If you don't know it inside out, how can you trust others to run it? How can you teach it, scale it, license it, or build a team around it? Most people are seduced by speed. They want to move fast and break things, but they don't realize the first thing they usually break is themselves. Rushing to scale an unproven offer, an unclear message, or a half-developed system is the reason so many businesses burn out before they hit six figures, let alone seven. Scaling before mastery is like trying to fly a plane you've never landed. It might look exciting until everything crashes. If you want to scale, the first step is to slow down, get good, then get great, learn the boring parts, the hard parts, the unsexy parts. Understand the levers that actually move the business. Know your numbers, your process, your offer inside out. Obsess over conversion rates, fulfillment quality, customer experience. Not because you want to micromanage forever, but because mastery gives you options. And options are where scale lives. The fastest way to slow yourself down is to try and scale too soon. The fastest way to become unstoppable is to master before multiplying. You don't need 10 clients if you can't handle one. You don't need 100,000 followers if your message isn't refined for 10. Mastery is the filter. It's the gatekeeper. It's the proof that you're ready for more. And once you've mastered the work, then and only then will scaling make you rich. Instead of ruin you, wealth doesn't come from stacking quick wins. It comes from sustaining smart decisions over time. Most people focus on how much they can make this month, this quarter, or this year. But the real question is, can you keep it? Can you grow it? Can you repeat it without burning out or breaking down? Because if your income spikes, but your systems are broken, you're not building wealth, you're surviving louder. The man who builds millions doesn't just chase money. He chases sustainability. He asks, can this model last? Will this habit scale? Is this growth healthy? That's the real difference. Anyone can have a good run, a viral product, a trending service, a lucky investment. But true wealth is boring. It's consistent. It's predictable. And it's built on fundamentals that never stop working, even when the spotlight fades. Stacking is about chasing the next thing. Sustaining is about optimizing what you already have. One is emotionally exciting. The other is strategically wise. The broke mindset is always looking for the next big hit. The wealth mindset is always refining, systemizing, and stabilizing the current engine until it runs without friction. One builds spikes. The other builds foundations. You've probably seen people make on to 100K in a weekend and then nothing for months, or someone who earns 100K in a year and still ends up broke because they don't know how to hold it, manage it, or multiply it. That's because they never shifted from stacking to sustaining. Stacking makes you look rich. Sustaining makes you stay rich. Wealthy people don't build flashy lifestyles on unstable cash flow. They don't scale expenses faster than systems. They don't celebrate a spike unless it becomes a pattern. They operate with control over their numbers, their calendar, their energy, and their strategy. That's how they last. That's how they keep growing when others collapse under the pressure of their own momentum. And here's the part most people never talk about. Sustaining is hard. It's not sexy. It's repetitive. It's checking your numbers when you'd rather post on social media. It's refining your funnel when you'd rather launch something new. But it's in that repetition where the gold lies, because when you master sustainability, you don't just make millions, you become the type of person who can rebuild them from zero if needed. True wealth isn't the stack in your account. It's the structure in your habits. It's not how loud your success looks. It's how long it lasts. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need 100 offers. You need one system done right that you can sustain and scale, because when you build with that kind of discipline, not only do you make millions, you get to keep them. At the end of the day, the journey from 100 to 100 million isn't a fantasy. It's not reserved for the lucky, the connected, or the born talented. It's reserved for those who are willing to think differently, act deliberately, and master the fundamentals everyone else ignores. Because it's not about how much you start with, it's about how deeply you understand leverage, discipline, and strategy. We've talked about how 100 is a mirror, about how skill beats hustle, about why your first system matters more than your first sale, why mastery is a prerequisite for scale, and why true wealth isn't what you stack, but what you sustain. Every piece is connected. Every principle is part of the same puzzle. not just to make money, but to become the kind of person who never has to fear losing it again. If this message lit something in you, if you're ready to stop chasing and start building, then don't just save this video. Start applying what you learned today. And like the video, comment below, I'm ready to multiply, and subscribe, because we're building real wealth, one mindset at a time.